Hi, my name is Mike Tusaw. I'm a financial advisor from St. Charles Wealth Management. Today, we're going to discuss how you can use a married put within your portfolio. First off, what is a married put? Well, by definition, a married put is when you own a stock and you buy a protective put option at the same time that you own the stock. Hence the name married. The stock and the put are married to each other, so to speak. And the purpose of it is very simple. You're just using the put option to protect against downside risk within the stock. Now, let's start by determining what risk actually is. The first thing that I want to do is emphasize the fact that in option trading, there's no such thing as what's higher risk or lower risk. Now, of course, if you're going to trade 100 contracts versus one contract, of course, the 100 lot is going to be more risky than the one lot. But where I'm going with this is that if you're trading apples to apples, the risk itself is not greater or less in one strategy versus the other. Now, that's a lot to think about, but what I want to emphasize is that all you're doing is that you are shifting risk with different strategies. So in other words, as you're looking at owning a stock, you're thinking, okay, well, the downside price risk is a little bit too much for me. I'm not comfortable with that. So what you decide to do is buy a put option. And what that does is that takes away the downside price risk from the strike price on down. However, you're not getting rid of risk. Yes, you're getting rid of the price risk, but now you have a new type of risk, and that risk is premium risk. In other words, if the stock were to stay the same and the value of the put option becomes worthless, that's what your risk is going to be when using a married put position. And you could make this same argument for any option strategy there is out there. You're never going to get rid of risk. You're simply going to shift risk. And the benefit of a married put option is something to where you can shift the risk from downside price risk in the stock to premium risk within the option itself. Now let's start by taking a look at this risk-reward graph to my left. What I want to emphasize on this is the fact that this is what a risk-reward would be of simply owning a stock. If you buy a stock at $20 a share for 100 shares, you can benefit from the stock increasing in value. Of course, if it goes to 30, then your $2,000 becomes 3,000. To 40, your 2,000 becomes 4,000. If it goes to 10, then you lose half your money. And of course, if it goes to 0, you lose all of your money. This is very simple, very basic. It's what a stock risk-reward graph looks like. Now let's look at the graph of a put option in and of itself. In this instance, we bought the strike price of 20 and we're paying $150 for it. That gives us the right, but not the obligation, to sell 100 shares of this stock for $20 per share. Now what that means is with the put option itself, should the stock increase in value, the only risk with which we have is the $150. It's not possible for us to lose any more than that. However, should the stock go down in value, you can see that we would have benefit from $20 on down to 0, with the exception of that $150 we paid for the privilege of having that benefit. This is what it would look like with the put option in and of itself. And once again, it's always important that we remind you that this does not factor in taxes or commissions. We're under the assumption that they don't exist here. However, they do exist in real life. So make sure you have an understanding of that when you're working with your broker as well as your tax professional. And finally, let's see what they look like when we combine the two. In this instance, what you're seeing is a risk-reward graph. We are long the stock, meaning we bought the same 100 shares of stock that we bought before at $20 per share. But we also bought the put option for $150. What this gives us is a floor. You'll notice that the downside of this is limited to $150 because that's what we paid for the 20 put option. However, our upside is unlimited. The difference in upside between having a married put position along with owning a stock position is the fact that you're paying that $150. Whatever you'd make on the stock, you'd also make on a stock with a married put minus the cost of the put option. It's like an insurance policy. The benefit is using it as insurance. So if the stock were to go down in value, the most you can possibly lose is $150 because of the fact that you have the right, but not the obligation, to sell the stock at 20 per share. Think of it as an insurance policy. So the final thing that we want to discuss before we bid farewell today is how this strategy can actually be used. Well, there's two methods with which I like to view this and the way with which I like to use these in real life. The first one is if you're looking to be passive. By being passive, you've made the determination that you will take no action between the day that you buy this put option and its expiration. So let's say that you were to own the stock, you buy the put option, say 3 months out, you're not going to take any action until expiration Friday, 3 months out. And at that point in time, you're going to do one of two things. You're either going to exercise the put option because the stock's gone down in value and you want to sell it at 20 in the example with which we used. You are going to take profits from the put option, because a lot of times it does make more sense to sell the put on the open market. And then at that point, you're either going to sell the stock or you're going to stay in it because your sentiment on the stock has changed. Maybe it's low enough to where you're now comfortable owning it without the put option, or you don't like it anymore because it's gone down. You're thinking, oh, thank God I bought that put option. That's your decision to make on that day. Now, the other way with which you can do this is by being active. Being active means that you are looking to take more action between the day you buy the put option and expiration Friday. For example, excuse me, what you're looking to do is if the stock were to take a sudden downturn when you own it and you have the put option in place, you could sell the put right away for a profit. At that point in time, maybe the stock is low enough to where you're feeling like, you know what, I own this stock. It's already taken a downturn. I'm comfortable owning this now without having a put option in place. So I'm just going to go back to owning the stock. Or you could perhaps use the profits from the put option to buy more shares of stock. That's kind of a way with which to dollar cost average into a stock and letting the market pay for it. It's a lot of fun when it works. However, have the understanding that things don't always work out the way with which you want them to. Now, ultimately, what you would hope is if the stock were to go up significantly and buying the put option was a waste of money. That's ultimately what you hope with this. And that's something that could happen. So have a plan in place before you get into the trade to determine if you want to be more passive or if you want to be more active in this investment. Last but not least, if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe. It's a way with which we can get our content out to more people. Also, if you are looking for a financial advisor who uses the married put strategy, feel free to reach out to me. You can follow me on Twitter at Mike Tusaw, or you can check out my website, stcharleswealth.com. Thank you and have a wonderful day.